Hi, I'm Jay Hill of the Dave and Jay Show. Welcome to this special segment. It's special because I'm alone today. There's just you, me, and SNC. By now you should have heard about the political story out of Ottawa that's been causing quite a stir. Perhaps you're a bit of a news junkie and have heard more than enough about this SNC Lavalin scandal. You know, the one where our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is now trying to convince Canadians, just as when he was accused of groping a young, small-town newspaper reporter years ago, that the memory of what happened last fall between he and his then Justice Minister and Attorney General is simply a difference of perspective. Well, I'm here today to tell you why I believe that is utter bullshit and why you should believe Jody Wilson-Raybould's story. This is a story that is actually quite easy to understand. It's a story that would make a terrific Hollywood movie someday. How one very strong, confident, and intelligent woman stared down arguably the three most powerful men of her country in a dispute over justice and the rule of law in a democracy. By now, you and every Canadian currently breathing should be aware of the basic details of this debacle. Some contend that it was only so that SNC Lavalin could avoid fighting a lengthy court case for corruption and fraud that Trudeau and Morneau quietly hid a brand new justice law in last year's huge omnibus Budget Implementation Act. Imagine the irony then, when the Director of Public Prosecutions, or DPP as she's known, ruled that SNC did not qualify for the deferred prosecution agreement that they had lobbied so hard for. So SNC launched a massive lobbying effort directed at Trudeau, his staff, and ministers to convince Wilson-Raybould to overrule the DPP. She refused, time and time again. She held firm, so in January, Trudeau fired her as his Justice Minister and Attorney General and replaced her with a rookie MP from Quebec. Clearly, Trudeau has never met a woman so resistant to his persuasive charms. He underestimated her throughout the 3.5 months of arm twisting by his senior staff, his clerk, and himself. He overestimated her willingness to remain silent about this attempted obstruction of justice when he demoted her. And then he completely misread her willingness to be bribed with another cabinet position. First, why do I believe I have a unique perspective on this? I was privileged to serve as a member of Parliament for 17 years, from 1993 to 2010. In 2001, I was one of 8 MPs in the Canadian Alliance to publicly call upon our then leader to resign and call for a leadership race. This action resulted in our small group being vilified as disloyal, as rebels, dissidents, traitors, and even worse. We believed we were standing on principle and doing what was right for our party members and our country. And it was literally a year from hell. So I have some small idea of the stress and the torment Jody Wilson-Raybould has gone through and what is still to come. Years later, I had the good fortune to be asked by Prime Minister Stephen Harper to join his cabinet. So likewise, I have had the experience of being at the cabinet table when difficult decisions are taken. I fully appreciate and understand the need for the independence of the Attorney General and the absolute requirement of a clear separation between politics and our justice system. Therefore, based upon this unique experience, I want to share my perspective on 3 issues that I continue to read about in editorials and comments on social media. First, if she really felt she was being inappropriately pressured to change her mind, why didn't she resign before being demoted in January? I believe she decided not to walk away because she knew she had made the right decision to support the disqualification of SNC Lavalin, and she was confident she would continue to resist all pressure, even from her boss, the Prime Minister. I suspect she also feared that were she to resign, someone potentially more pliable would be appointed as her replacement. And in the end, that's exactly what happened. Second, some are trying to defend Trudeau by saying that as the country's leader, of course he should be concerned about the potential of SNC Lavalin employees losing their jobs. Well, I agree. that he should rightfully be concerned about any Canadian losing their job, regardless of where they happen to live. But that should not and must not ever allow him to pervert the course of justice. Lastly, why did she finally resign after agreeing to take on the job of Veterans Affairs Minister? We don't know, because apparently she cannot say. Trudeau has not waived her requirement of confidentiality for any time after her demotion on January the 14th. I'm sure she has received legal opinions warning her about any public disclosure of what transpired between that date and her resignation on February the 12th. However, it's obvious from the timing that it's at least partially due to the fact Trudeau was publicly using her continued presence in his cabinet as evidence that nothing inappropriate had happened. In other words, on February 11th, he challenged her to quit if she believed differently. Well, the very next day she resigned. So why should you and every other Canadian care about this? Because if we don't protect the independence of our justice system from crass political interference, what will prevent prime ministers from deciding who should be criminally charged and who should go free? If you don't care enough for yourself, then care for your children and grandchildren. Because if Trudeau gets away with this, our nation is on a very slippery slope towards becoming just like China, the country Trudeau admits he admires. And that is my perspective.